Welcome back. We're here to cover the karmic third party. If you do need a booking, you can go to the link below. For those of you that don't know, I'm Yildiz from Yildiz Readings 5D, a psychic medium, clairvoyant, and intuitive astrologer. We also have our Sage Inner Circle network where this content is pre-released, where we host a membership that is supportive. We have super chats. If you want to see what's included, you can jump through and take a look. Now, straight into the read. Now, this does look like quite a challenging week for the karmic third party. And I'm already seeing it coming through. It was like, heck, okay. If this was me, I'd feel sorry for me. I'd be like, wow, this is not fun. Now, does it make sense? Yes, it does. We are having quite a few karmic shifts, and I did reference this, I think more so in the Divine Feminine energy update, but definitely through, yeah, it is. This is a karmic shift. And I'll tell you the reasons why. Let's get the exact date. Okay, by July the 26th, we have the nodes shift. We have a difference between the true node and the mean node, but however, that energy is shifting. And collectively, you could directly look at it, and don't quote me, into the frequency of the shadow, which we're directly getting regardless because we're heading into eclipse season and the eclipsing out of these cycles. So yes, effectively between now and the next 6 months, but most definitely the next 2 months, and here and now, right now, this week, you are going to feel a shake-up in your lives. And that's be it your karmic, your feminine, masculine. There's a closing out of the subject matter. There's a death and a rebirth. It's the 12th house. And we do see this really quite significantly for these individuals. Now we get the, nostalgia, idealizing the past, fearing you've made a mistake, and we get the red coming through. We get that Pisces energy, and it was one way I was describing it inside my blog. So if you haven't read the blog, you can go directly, like I said, to the website. And I really discussed this month's frequency. And through Mercury retrograde, we were very, very reflective. We could have had old situations cropping up. We could have been going all the way back to our childhood. Circumstances, connections, karmic ways of being, codependency, where we have stayed in situations maybe that weren't for us due to survival instincts. And we can see the witch directly behind, and it looks like a cauldron on fire and a boat going down. So yeah, I get it. There is this anger sometimes at ourselves, but this individual is angry because of, how their life has gone and where it is right now. And very distinct possibility, especially at the beginning of the month, that we would make some choices that potentially, if we weren't careful, we could be extremely, feel regretful and guilty, like, oh crap, what have I done? So we see this coming through, in their crowding energy. Now, in the most recent past, we have this person pondering the subject matter again. And this is about doing things the right way. Now, do I think this is relating to the most recent past as well as further back? Yes, I do. The ego of the crown, which is the South Node in Leo, the partners we get with, the things we've done, the things we've hidden from them, gossip getting out. This is the vibration of this energy at the moment. And I think that there could be a bit of regret. There could be like, crap, is something that was hidden coming out. Very potentially here. So, the heart chakra, we have mortality, which is almost like the death card in tarot. This is like, okay, this is coming to a cycle. What am I doing with my life? We're looking at the Mercury energy through the eyes. And so there's fear. There's so many changes in their life that they actually don't know what they're going to do. And it's very natural that we want to go back into patterns. And I think at a collective level, we can see this happening. I was talking, especially in the notion of Pisces, I wouldn't be surprised if prisons come up in the media, due to the fact that, sometimes we were talking about what would it look like to be a reformed citizen. And, many times when we don't have that structure there in our lives, which is Saturn, what can happen is we come out and we don't know what to do. And so, I really had to lean in inside my twin flame path and look in at karmics and behavioral patterns, and maybe even the notion of psychology. And initially, there was a lot of fear connected to these individuals because of their potentials and what they could do, because, at times really be quite toxic with their choices and with what their drive was and what they would do to no end to actually achieve their target. But then when you observe it from a different kind of angle, you can, and this is by no means, I'm not trying to make excuses for this. That's not what this is. I'm explaining something I've viewed and how I come to understand a circumstance, to view it at a different angle. And it's like, heck, I think for many of us, we can identify with, we have a trigger, we have a trauma, and we're unable to work around it. And it's a pattern and a habit. And it's something we just naturally do to survive. That's about the best way I can describe it. So this individual has had a pattern and a habit, and whatever that is, you will know, because you either know who this person is, you are aware of maybe the person who attracts this type of individual, and you're seeing it firsthand. Something of that nature is coming to a head, and I've always said that. And I could give you a couple of examples. It might be from a codependent point of view. This person gets into relationships and, is quite codependent on the other person for finances. And then that person loses their job and maybe they can't work anymore. So therefore they have to face it. And they've got two options there. They can bounce and they can find another partner to become codependent on. They can go into avoidance where a tower falls. But regardless, Saturn and Aries is about, okay, these are also your responsibilities. What are you going to do? This is about you. This isn't about the other person. And so in commitments and connections, we can bind together. We can work together side by side. But a lot of times when individuals trauma bond, they tend to be the mirror of that same thing. One is believing it's a trauma bond. It's a messy situation. So many times they do end because it wasn't really in the initial stages about a relationship. It was about, this feels comfortable. I don't need to grow. This is where I'm at. It could be that they have a habit and both see eye to eye because both parties have a habit. It could be because one wants somebody else to need them, or one wants the other to enable them. We're really moving into a new vibration of relating. And for many of us, that's not going to work anymore, including, unfortunately, for these individuals, which you directly can see through the cards. This is actually quite traumatic for them because, like I said, the ferryman always comes for payment. And so at some point, we're going to have to confront those demons, and sometimes confronting them is merely just accepting it. Accepting, this is my flaw, this is my blockage, this is maybe something I need to do a workaround for right now, but it's something that is really preventing me from progressing forward. And so, it's getting them into this space where we have the star card. Basically this is linking almost to the star card and tarot. It's in the reversal here. So this was never about a dream. It's not taking them to a dream. It's not giving them the juice. So the juice is not worth the squeeze. And they don't even know who they are at this moment in time. They're like, what is that plan? Where am I going? What do I want out of my life? Many times they've found, things did flow better for them before. But this habit, this pattern is really coming to a close. It's simply not working anymore. And they're actually realizing part of that Pisces energy in the North Node was a bit of a prison, a bit of a delusion. And like I mentioned, I did mention the matrix and the red pill and the blue pill. I did mention, the absolute sheer beauty of the North Node in Pisces, which sounds quite strange for many of us, simply like the end of the year. You want to get out of the year. You want to go into the new year, and we're in a hurry all the time. But I think if we understand, it's a little bit like Cinderella and the 12th hour. We have come to a close of this, and we did need to take a moment to say, hey, there was some beauty in this. Sometimes there's beauty in not knowing. So sometimes the absolute share responsibility of knowing what is going on is a share burden. So that is the notion, I'm really picking from this transition out. Uh, and it's big. And we see this happening with this individual. For some, it's almost like they no longer have a choice. We generally get the 3 stages. We get the first hit, we get the near miss, and we get the tower moment. Very much Uranus and Gemini. So this person no longer has a choice. This is happening. It's happening both for them and it's happening to them. And it's happening before the end of the month. We have the white rabbit hair. This is well and truly, it's the 12th hour. There's an urgent energy coming about in this person's life, and it's really not giving them much warning. The Mercury retrograde could have had the anxiety associated to it, and we're at the 12th hour. Now, if you do want to see these updates, we do have the masculine, feminine, and karmic out. We have changed it where if you want to comment, it is for members. Hate me, love me, it's up to you, but we're testing it out for the moment. Otherwise, if you do want these ad-free, pre-released, you can come through and join our Sage in a Circle network. And or if you need a booking, you can go to the website. Otherwise, I'll see you next week.